I seriously love stupid movies that make no sense. Lucky for me, Sonic 2 is a stupid movie that makes no sense. Obviously, this is a family movie aimed more towards children, and when you view it through that lens, it's a passable movie, but the issues are really funny. We'll get to that later. First, a word from this video's sponsor, myself. Whatever brings you here, hi, my name is JP, and I make videos like every 6 months, and I'm also a multi-instrumentalist musician. I have some music coming out, and if you like what you see, subscribe and follow my Instagram, link in the description. Thank you. I absolutely love this movie. I watched it in the theater with my kid, and it stars two of my favorite fictional characters in existence, along with one of my absolute favorite actors. It is absolutely packed with Sonic Easter eggs. Jim Carrey is still awesome. The voice acting is very good, and it improves upon the predecessor in almost every way. Another thing I have to point out is the incredible action sequences, particularly the fight scenes between Sonic and Knuckles. The acting between the live-action characters and the CGI animals is actually handled really well for the most part. More on that later. One of my favorite jokes is Knuckles crushing the bones of anyone who tries to offer him a handshake. I haven't reviewed the first movie, and I don't think I'm going to. I didn't dislike it, I enjoyed it, but it's pretty standard for what it is. Definitely worth watching, but I don't know how I would make a compelling video about it, so yeah, it's predictable but greater than the sum of its parts. It does feature some seriously dark humor that might catch you off guard. Anyway, having basically already given my opinion on this film, this review will be more cynical and kinda sarcastic because it gets really silly, sometimes dumb, and often really weird. If I missed anything, please use the comment section to let me know. Huge spoiler alert for the first two Sonic films and some of the games. I started writing a full recap, and in doing so I realized I don't want to do that. It's better as a very simple summary. The bad guy comes back with more power, Sonic finds a way to win, meets a couple new characters, it sets up the sequel. The number one bit of praise I can give this film is the way that it satisfies its fan base. If you're familiar with the story behind these characters, it's hard to explain how well everything has been translated to fit within these movies. The story as presented by the films is a sort of an amalgamation from different pieces of Sonic history on top of adding original new spins to the lore. Everyone is represented well here, and it's written in a way that everyone with an attachment to this universe and the characters can recognize their nostalgic version of the characters whilst being introduced to some of the more updated things about the characters. I want to start by pointing out some of the hilarious things that crack me up every time I watch this film. First of all, I love Jim Carrey. He's such a dork in this movie, trying so hard to be cool, saying things like this,
"Earth is my turf, G,"
and doing things like this. And none of it ever really works, but all of it works. Of course he's going to be a lunatic, he's Jim Carrey, but I feel like the purpose of his performance is to bridge the comedy gap between the parents and children by not only just being a beloved 90s comedy legend in a Sonic film, but personifying the awkwardness of parents trying and failing to fit in with the cool kids. Special shout out to the mustache joke. Moving on to this scene here. It's set up that this secret base is, well, secret. Agent Stone kicks everyone out, locks the door, and closes the blinds, even giving himself a failing health inspection score for good measure. Fast forward to when Robotnik arrives with a talking red space porcupine.
Porcupine? I am an echidna.
Yeah, sure. Totally. They leave the door wide open and don't pay any attention to it. No concern for the secret equipment, the presence of Dr. Robotnik, or the bipedal upright talking red echidna. When the movie comes back to this place later, one of them has apparently had a moment and decided to secure the premises. There's also this continuity error, which doesn't really matter but really stuck out to me for some reason. Right as Sonic tells Tom to stop being his dad, Tom breaks eye contact and looks down. However, directly in the next shot, he is still making eye contact before once again looking down. Or other things like this line.
You know, a real genius would remember the name of the guy who helped kick your butt off this planet, and I'll do it again if you mess with Green Hills.
He says help kicked your butt? Totally should have been helped kick your butt. Or Tails being completely out of place here.
Go to your certain death with honor.
We're gonna have to work on your pep talks, pal.
Yeah.
Or Tom and Maddie basically being cheerleaders during the showdown between Sonic and Eggman. It's so out of place and just weird, which kind of plays into the most common complaint that I've heard about this film. Yeah, there's no easy way to say it. While I don't hate the human characters in this film, I really only enjoy about half of their screen time. Rachel is amazing and some of the jokes are legitimately funny, and I guess I'm in the minority that prefers these films to be set in the real world rather than animation for whatever reason. But I could totally see people hating this. Basically every human character aside from Eggman, Maddie, and Rachel are either helpless, deceptive, or completely stupid unless there's something I'm forgetting. The wedding scene is not what I find to be this film's weakness. It's definitely the random, completely pointless, and flat-out weird dance sequence. The first film establishes that Sonic can move so quickly that it's basically pushing pause on humans. There's no threat from almost anything he can encounter in the human world. He's able to hoodwink an entire saloon full of people, moving so quickly that no one else is even in motion. Later, he is able to float through an entire aerial minefield of bombs and explosives and then aim them back at Robotnik. Now we're supposed to believe that he can't just take off and recover a map and get out of this building. There is a very touching scene before Sonic and Tails fall asleep, but other than that, it's a total waste and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This also causes a problem later in the film. Dr. Robotnik is moving at a comically slow pace to steal the Master Emerald while Sonic and Knuckles are fighting inside the labyrinth. Keep in mind, Sonic can move at the speed of sound. As I said before, he can move so fast that humans are basically paused. But only when it's a cool spectacle, because for whatever reason, he basically allows Eggman to steal the emerald. He totally could have stopped him. This is why I called this a stupid movie. A lot of it just kind of feels first draft. Knuckles just appears in the first 5 minutes. There are a lot of strange continuity issues. It doesn't necessarily follow a lot of the same rules presented in the first film. The acting is very hit or miss, and some of the movie just doesn't make sense. Sometimes it feels like things just happen. People are just magically where they need to be. However, for me, seeing Knuckles eliminates any complaint that I have about this film. He is very well acted by Idris Elba, very well written, and his story is pretty faithfully converted from the games, at least on paper. The story is told a bit differently, but in the games, Eggman crashes upon Angel Island, which is where Knuckles lives, and eventually convinces Knuckles that Sonic and Tails are coming to steal the Master Emerald. By the end of the game, all the true colors are revealed, but I'll leave that for when I review it. The movie is similar, although some of the details are a little murky and honestly messy, at least like Knuckles appearing in the portal at Mushroom Hill. Also, interesting that this trans-dimensional space echidna speaks English. This movie explains his appearance, but that doesn't change the fact that it's just weird. In the movie, Robotnik doesn't know about the Master Emerald, but he works with Knuckles for a bit of an exchange. Knuckles will help Eggman return to Earth, and Eggman will reveal Sonic to Knuckles. The Master Emerald comes into play a little later in this version, but basically it's Eggman manipulating a very socially awkward and innocent Knuckles in order to steal it. He needs Knuckles for protection, basically. Considering the strange way that the continuity of the games has been adapted for these films, this was handled extremely well, even if the introduction is confusing. Chef's kiss to his introduction to Sonic. He beats the absolute dog shit out of him, and I thought that was fantastic because that's exactly how he's introduced in the games. He's able to hit Supersonic so hard that he loses all of the Chaos Emeralds, and if you're not familiar with the Sonic universe, Supersonic is basically impervious to almost all damage except for like bottomless pits and being crushed. This is absolutely a satisfying introduction to this character. I do not believe that this could have been handled any better with the exception of how confusing it is that he's just kind of there coming through the portal. He is a treat every time he's on screen, and I am extremely excited for the Knuckles miniseries that comes out this month. So to recap, this movie has a lot of problems and even has an entire scene that I will skip outright every time I revisit this film. That's rare. Usually if I hate a level in a game, a song on an album, or a part of a movie, I can put up with it to enjoy the rest, but that fucking dance scene is about as bad as the boss fights in Sonic Superstars, but I love this movie, and it has been added to the long list of campy, lovable, underbaked films that I absolutely adore. I cannot wait for the sequel, and thank you for watching. Chef's kiss to Knuckles' introduction. Introduction? What in the fuck is that?